Hello everyone, I'm John Davis. In this video, we're going to talk about what I should name my blog. So one of the best ways of earning a second income online is through blogs. A lot of people now see that as old hats and more people are moving into video or podcasting, but blogs are still a great way of making additional money online or just expressing yourself and talking about something you're passionate about. Realistically, it's more written word. You can incorporate video into your blog as well, that's great, and it definitely helps. If you could put a video that you've created halfway down your blog and people watch that video, it shows Google that people are spending a lot of time on your site. That doesn't do you any harm, and it can boost your rankings as well, because Google, one of the factors they look at is the amount of time that people spend on your page as well. A blog can incorporate many different forms of information, whether it's images, audio or video. They can all be part of that blog. So a lot of what we're going to talk about now kind of applies even if you don't want to have a blog, because no matter what platform you choose, whether you choose to be producing content on YouTube or Instagram, wherever it is, you're going to want to point them people somewhere. Never ever put everything all in one platform. If Facebook went down tomorrow or Instagram ceased to exist tomorrow and that's where you've got 50,000 followers and they don't go anywhere else, you've just lost that entire part of your life. They're gone. So don't put all your eggs in one basket. They always say the money is in the list and you should build an email list of subscribers and followers, and that's kind of the key. That's why we need a website. So we have a website where we point people at, we'll give them value, we'll give them information, we'll give them free downloads and lead magnets, we'll give them all that in exchange for that email address. Once we've got that email address, that is the only thing we control. We don't control the platforms, but we can control that email list. So if you had to start again from scratch, you've got that list of people that are interested in what you have to say. So that's why we always need a website as such. Now, some people will just use a fairly standard landing page website. They won't use a blog. They'll just have a website that has like your about, your contact details, and just a basic way of kind of getting in and out of that email list. Whereas what we're going to talk about now is blogging. So blogging goes beyond just having a website and an online presence. Everyone needs that. I firmly believe that everyone needs at least the website. And a lot of the principles we're going to talk about today in terms of what you choose, your domain name, top tips for finding the right domain name and what works, what doesn't work, they apply whether it's a website or a blog. So you get 2 for 1 on this one. But blogging is unique in that it's how people create content, which then Google will rank, and it gives you the opportunity to build rapport, create opportunities, give value, build your audience through regular posts and a regular exchange of information. You're asking for people to subscribe and follow your blog in exchange for you giving them value and information and answering their questions and helping them relieve their pain points and things that they want to know more about. So it's probably the most established platform for doing that. Like I say, you can have different platforms as well. I'm using YouTube and a blog, and they're my core content strategies. So at the moment, I have very little on my blog, a couple of reviews really. I'm throwing myself into my YouTube world at the moment, trying to put as much content out as I can, and then I'm going to slowly feed that back into my blog. And that's the thing, whether you're using YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest, try and push people back into this blog, get their email address, and then build your list of followers and subscribers and people that value what you've got to tell them. So I've been blogging for a few years now and learning affiliate marketing as much as I can. Now, I've bought quite a lot of domains and I've sold a few for a little bit of profit as well. So I'm going to give you all my top tips for choosing a name for your blog. So in this video, we're going to cover a few things. First of all, we're going to decide who you are and what is it that you want to tell the world. Secondly, I'm going to give you all my top tips for choosing a blog name. I'll tell you what's worked for me, what hasn't worked for me, and we'll go through and I'll give you my top tips for what I do when I'm choosing a new blog name. We'll then talk about where to buy your domain name and what you need to check. And lastly, if you stay tuned right to the end, I'm going to tell you a secret tool to check that your blog name doesn't have a murky past. Let's jump into it. So first of all, we're going to talk about who you are and what is it you want to tell the world. Now, I've talked about this in one of my other videos where we went through the process of personal branding versus kind of more anonymous kind of company branding. So this all depends on you. It depends on what you want to achieve. The fashion at the moment seems to be self-branding, which is what I've kind of done with my website. So my website is John100. You go on there, it's got John Davis written everywhere. This YouTube channel, it's got John Davis written everywhere. So that seems to be the fashion at the moment, doing the whole self-branding thing, trying to make yourself an expert in your niche or your craft. So that would be my recommendation. I think with a personal brand as well, you also have a little bit more wiggle room. It could be that you already have a company or a little small business, but blogging for small businesses is slightly different. You've got more of an agenda and you've got kind of, I think, a more restricted view of what you could talk about. Whereas on a personal blog, you've got a much wider scope. You can talk a bit more about your beliefs, your philosophy, your interests. It doesn't have to all be business focused. You can start kind of going beyond that and getting people to resonate more with you than your business, because people might like you but not that particular business. And you've also got to look that nowadays, because it's so easy to kind of set up businesses and new little side hustles, so a lot of people will have multiple businesses. If you look at some of the leading marketers, that could be like Neil Patel's a great example. I mean, he's up here. But Neil's website is neilpatel.com. Now, fair enough, he's a consultant and I suppose almost a marketing celebrity, really. But he also has lots of other companies and products and that fall within their own brands. So having his own personal blog gives him a lot more scope to discuss different areas and I suppose interlink them companies as well. So what I want you to do is have a good think what you wish to discuss. Don't worry about it having to be absolutely unique. It doesn't have to be at this stage. You may find that your expertise grows in one particular area, but at the moment we just need to have a niche, an interest, whatever it is that you wish to discuss. So if your passion is home baking, let's do your blog on home baking. If your passion is on Labrador dogs, let's create your blog on Labrador dogs and we can talk about all different things to do with them niche areas. So I tend to do two things. I tend to, one, pick something that I'm interested in because I've been there, done that. I've created several blogs on things that are just mundane and I've no interest in. And trust me, once you've done the initial setup and you've got a few posts out there, you quickly lose interest. So unless you're an absolute machine and a robot and you're doing it because you can just see the financial reward at the end, I would always recommend picking something that interests you, whether it's something you want to learn or something you're an expert at. It doesn't really matter because we can document your journey throughout anyway. My other little tip is, unless you're doing this purely for passion and you've no intention to make money with it, that's fine. If you further down the line want to create something, whether that's a course or recommending other products for affiliate marketing, try and look a little bit at the end game. Are there products in that niche that you could recommend? There usually is. There's usually a product of some form. For dogs, you can create your own course on dog obedience. You can recommend dog food or dog toys. There's usually multiple things that will fit around whatever niche you've chosen. It's very rare that I see a niche that doesn't have anything that you can monetize whatsoever. But just have a little bit of a think. Like I say, don't get too hung up on that. But the main thing I would do is pad of paper, pen, and just brain dump everything that comes into your head. However silly it feels, everything that you can think of to do with that niche, get it written down on that paper. So start off with a general kind of niche area and then just narrow it down. Every thought that comes into your head, so Labrador, training, obedience, maintenance, grooming, toys, just everything, every possible thing that goes into your mind, just write it down and then look at the bigger picture. So do that for like 10 minutes, walk away, then go back to it, have another 10 minutes and just try and get all of your ideas on the page. And it'll just get that kind of creative juice flowing and it'll get you in the right frame of mind to then start looking at your actual blog name. So your next stage is you've got an idea now of that niche in that area that is that you want to discuss, something you're passionate about, and you've got plenty of ideas and topics of conversation you can have around that niche. So one thing I'm going to add is I'm talking here about how you choose your blog name. Your blog name and your domain name, which is what shows in the internet bar. When you're browsing on Internet Explorer or Google Chrome, the actual address that goes to your site, that's the domain name. Or the URL, something it's called as well. So that's actually slightly different to what your blog can be called, so I should probably clear that up. So I've got john100.com as my actual URL, that's my domain name, john100.com. But that's not really my blog name. So that's the actual address that's unique on the internet. That's what you type in to get to it. Once you go onto my blog, it's more what's your tagline, what's your blog about. So it's twofold this. I'm going to give you the top tips on how to choose your actual domain name. But you've also got to bear in mind that it's also a broader question, your blog name as well. So my blog name, or what my blog's about, is about me, John Davis, as an aspiring digital marketer myself. I want to be able to kind of use that information and knowledge that I've got to help others, and also for a way for me to create a second source of income online and help others do the same. So my blog name, John100, doesn't quite tell you the full picture. So when you set your blog up, you'll have a tagline and then your content will generally kind of steer around what your blog's about anyway. So don't feel like it's got to be so clear cut now. You'll just get something that's relevant and then the rest of it will kind of be the bigger picture of your blog. I just wanted to clear that up before we jump into my top tips for how to choose your domain name. So we're now going to go through my 13 top tips on choosing your blog name. And these are all things that I've learned through my mistakes, through my successes. But like I say, I'm going to save you a little bit of time and effort and heartache now by picking the wrong things. and these are my general pointers. There'll always be an exception, but generally this is what I do. So number one, .com. Choose a .com address where possible. Now we're talking about the end of the actual domain name here. So if you've got johnscupcakes.com, it's the most universal, the most widely recognised address that you can go for. So I would always, where possible, go for a .com. The downside to that is there's a lot of other people that have got the .com already. So you might find, like myself, I'm based in England, so I might find that the .co.uk address is available, but the .com has gone. In which case, I would probably avoid that, because although you're going for the .co.uk one, if someone just types in .com because that's just the instinctive thing to do when you tell them, I've got a website, it's John's Cupcakes, they'll just go away, type johnscupcakes.com in, and then go into another website that's nothing to do with you. So if .com is taken, I would probably avoid the local version, and I would always try and stick to .com, but you are going to have to think a little bit more because they will be harder to find. Number two, don't restrict yourself. Don't narrow it down too much. At this point, you're just getting started. You'll find that your journey will evolve, it'll take you to different places. I've just relaunched my new brand, which is going to be myself, John 100. I've just launched that recently, and I'm already finding that my focus and the things that I want to talk about now is evolving and changing. So I've kept it quite general. So if you want to talk about cupcakes as an example again, don't call it lowfatstrawberrycupcakes.com. First of all, that's massive, so that's way too long. But second of all, you're only going to have so many topics of conversation around low-fat strawberry cupcakes. You're best off going for, I don't know, low-fat baking or cupcake world, or you know what I mean. Just keep it a little bit more general. Don't restrict yourself now. Number three, and it's slightly on the same thing, go for short and catchy where possible. So I have seen plenty of longer blog names, and a lot of them work really well. What I found through like Pinterest and different targeting strategies, traffic strategies. monmakessense.com is a really good one, and it's a nice play on the words as well. But generally, keep it short and catchy. It doesn't mean the whole URL has to be short and catchy. It could just that it's broken down, like say monmakessense.com. It's a nice play on them words, and it's short and catchy in its own way, even though the URL is fairly long. But don't go overboard. Try and keep it snappy. So number four is pretty obvious, but keep it relevant. Don't create a blog about classic cars, but call your blog theworldsbestcoffee.com. There's no link to it, so you've got to keep some relevance. Don't restrict it, but keep it relevant. Number five, similar to short and catchy, but keep the word simple. Simple to pronounce and simple to spell. So you'll always get certain things like with john100.com, there's a couple of ways of spelling John, but that's fine. But try and keep the word simple and easy to say. Don't have anything that's difficult to spell in there unless you're really going for like a certain type of audience that would always know how to spell that word. But try and keep it simple and easy to pronounce. Number six, we need to check the domain is even available. So what we'll do there is we'll go straight onto GoDaddy or Namecheap or Google Sites, whoever it is that you're going to be buying that domain through. We'll go onto their sites and we'll do a quick search for some of the suggestions you've got so far. We're not narrowing it down yet, but we'll be able to rule out a couple of them. Chances are your head is going to think of all these great domain names and you're going to be like, oh, perfect. And then you go onto GoDaddy and you type it in, it says that's already taken, you can't have that one. It's a good way of ruling out the obvious kind of clear-cut ones and then making your brain do that little bit of extra thinking to something a little bit more unique. Number seven is exactly the same, but we're going to have a look at all the other social accounts. So what I don't want you to do, and we'll discuss this further down this series of videos, is I don't want you to get your blog and then try and set up every single social media account that there is. You've got to focus on one, perfect that, master that, and then move on to the next. You can always register them in advance if you feel like you're onto a winner with that domain name. But I don't want you to go and kind of try and blast content out across every single platform because it's too much. It'll be overwhelming and you won't find the right people at the right time. So I'm going to show you a quick tool now. I'll put it up on the screen and it's called Name Checker. So if you put your domain name in there, it'll have a quick check. It'll actually check GoDaddy, I think. It'll check the domain name and it'll also check across all different social media sites and it'll tell you whether that handle, that domain name, whether that's available and something that you can use. Again, if it's not available on one platform, don't worry too much. It'd be nice to stay consistent across them all. But if it's a perfect domain name, perfect name for your blog, but if it's the perfect name for your blog and it's not available on just Instagram, don't let that be the deciding factor. But if it's not available anywhere, then chances are someone else is using it, and what you're best off doing is going seeing who is using it, what kind of content are they producing. It could be that it completely contradicts what you want to do, and you're going to always have that almost rivalry or misunderstanding between you're creating stuff in a similar name, they're creating opposing stuff in that same name, and you've just got to weigh up your kind of competition. Number 8, avoid brand names or trademarks. So trademarks can catch you out. I promote ClickFunnels, and I know they've recently put an update out there to say people can't kind of do advertising against their trademarks. So about a year ago, I was selling quite a lot of Lego on Amazon. I was doing Amazon arbitrage where you buy something and then sell it at a higher price on Amazon. And I was doing that with a lot of Lego stuff. And I kind of thought, I could supplement this with a blog around it as well. And there's some really good Lego blogs, so I kind of looked at it and I thought, oh, there's loads of really good domains here. There's absolutely tons of them that are so relevant to Lego, and they must be worth a fortune. And then the more I looked into it, I realised them domains are available because Lego are very, very strict and will shut you down. They'll threaten you with legal action if you use anything that's kind of a trademark or brand and linked to them whatsoever. So just avoid them, it's not worth the hassle. Imagine building something up really high and putting all your heart and soul into it, and then that trademark, that brand comes along and basically tells you to remove it and threatens you with legal action. It's not worth it. It's not worth the pain further down the line. So avoid anything like that. And number 9, you need to have a little bit of an idea of who your audience is going to be here. So if we use the example of Labrador dogs again, that could be anywhere in the world. So that could be, we could be targeting people there in Canada, America, the UK, Germany, anywhere really, because Labradors aren't restricted to certain countries. Whereas if we were talking about what I call football, and I created a blog on football, you might find that isn't going to really translate and work into an American audience, because American football is completely different to our football. So they'll say soccer, they're wrong. If you're watching, you're wrong, it's football. There's only one football, so there's soccer and football. But again, if it's something that you want in kind of a universal appeal, just check what the like international words are or international spellings. There's plenty of different variations in the English language. So there's colour, you say tomato, I say tomato, that kind of thing. Number 10 is local business. So if you're creating a blog that supports the local area that you live in, then that's probably the only time I would say you find to use the actual location name in the domain name as well, or in the blog name. If you're talking about creating a blog where you discuss home improvements in Manchester, that's a bad example. So if you're creating a blog where you talk about hotels in London, that's fine. You could include London in the actual blog name and domain name, that's fine. Just know that you're restricting yourself and you can't ever scale that. So if that blog becomes huge, you're probably going to have to start again and rebrand for each different city that you then choose. Whereas a more general one would allow you to then put kind of sub-pages for each city in it. But if you want to create something that is more specialised and more local and you're targeting local audiences, then yeah, that's probably the only time I would say you can get away with really using like a city name or a town name. So number 11, you've got this big list of ideas now. You've checked what's available, you've brain dumped. What you need to do now is sleep on it. Just sleep on it, because I guarantee you, I tend to do this. I tend to create a document in like Google Drive, and I basically just put everything I can think of in there, and then I go back and I'll look at it again, and I'll straight away cross 3 or 4 of them out and think, no, they are rubbish. Because you just get so involved in that process of thinking what you want to call something, you just get wrapped up in it. So sleep on it, go back, review it, delete any that you can rule out straight away. Use your gut feeling. Number 12. Don't tell the world yet. I've seen this a few times. I'm in quite a few Facebook groups and forums where these kind of things are discussed, and I've seen poor people that go on and they're a little bit too trusting of people, and they go on and say, I'm thinking of setting up this. What do you think of this domain name? And I've seen it so many times where 2 minutes later, someone's pinched it, someone looks at it and thinks, that's quite a good idea actually. So although you may be getting feedback in that group from people you trust and stuff, you don't know who's reading that, who's viewing it, and you only need one person. What do they cost? I mean, you can get them for like $5 to $10. So people will just think, I like the sound of that actually, I'm going to grab that. And they'll just pinch it before you even have a chance to buy it. So don't share it with the world. Share it with someone. Talk to a friend or family or someone who knows what you're interested in, and maybe just get like 1 or 2 people's kind of opinions and ideas, and see if there's anything obvious that they can point out that you're missing. But don't share it with everyone yet, so keep hold of it. And the last tip is then you go and buy it. Don't mess around then, it's not going to break the bank. You've done as much research as you can, go and buy it. But wait, when I just said go and buy it, don't wait till the end of this video, because I'm going to tell you one more tip, one more bonus tip that I've not included in that. I'm going to tell you how you can go and check whether your domain name, your blog name has had a murky past and what it's been up to in a previous life. So don't go anywhere yet, stay tuned to the end, and then once you've seen that bit, then go and buy it, okay? So when you are ready to buy, there's a couple of places I've bought domains in the past. So I've bought them on GoDaddy, which seems to be kind of the go-to one. If you want to buy a domain, for me, I just think GoDaddy. That's kind of your main one that kind of comes to mind when you're looking at buying a domain. No problems with them whatsoever. I'd recommend them. I've used them for quite a while, and I think I've raised one support issue in the past, which was promptly resolved. They generally will have a promotion on the price, and generally they're not the cheapest when it comes to renewing for the consecutive years. So most of these domain registrars are the same. They'll run promotions where you can sometimes get a .com address for like $3-4, sometimes even $1. And then on the second year, you might pay quite a bit more. But comparatively, if you've had a year to create something that you've then got traction with, comparatively, the costs are nothing really. Don't base your entire business on whether you've got to spend $15 on something. I know every penny counts. I know it's a British reference, but every cent counts. But don't get too hung up on the renewal costs. I've also used Namecheap, and again, I have no problems with Namecheap. The one thing I didn't do with Namecheap, which I'll tell you now, if you order through them, I would recommend them. For your first year cost, they've always got really good promotions, and their renewal prices are usually cheaper. The one thing I messed up with is on one of my domains when I bought it, I didn't tick the domain privacy option. So some of them will do it as an upsell and they'll charge you extra. Some of them will include it for free. Domain privacy, basically, when you buy a domain, there's a domain registrar which is publicly available, which puts your details on it, so it has your like contact details on there, because basically they have to say who owns the domain. Now, if you pay for domain privacy, they'll put their company on there, so when people look up your domain, it'll just say Namecheap and it'll have their address, and you're good. No one knows it's you that owns that domain. Whereas I stupidly didn't tick the box on one of them. I didn't include it in the order. It was free, it was included with Namecheap. I just didn't tick the box. I missed it for whatever reason. And then my email just got battered with tons and tons of spammers trying to sell me web design services. So one option that a few people have been recommending to me recently that I didn't even realise did it is Google. So you can go on Google Domains and register your domain through them. They don't generally have an introductory offer or like a special price. It looks like it's pretty much a standard thing, so it's say $12 to $15 every year, but you get domain privacy included with that, and it looks a fairly no-frill service, so they're not kind of upselling you for everything as well, which GoDaddy and Namecheap, they do it a little bit, but you don't have to take it. All you want to do when you're buying your domain is just buy the domain name. You don't have to make any decisions on hosting yet. We'll talk about hosting and anything else you need to buy in the next video. So we've gone through how to name your blog, how to choose your domain name, all them top tips on what to look for, how to brainstorm, all the little tips and tricks and things that work and don't work. So we've gone through all that. I've told you where you can then buy the domain itself. So the last tip I'm going to give you is how to check whether it's been used previously. So a lot of these domains could have been used for something else, like someone else's past ventures, and then they just go back into the pool of available domains when they get dropped and lost and they don't want them anymore. Some of them may have been used untowards, to use to spam people or for dodgy websites. So what I always do is my final step. I always go and check whether it's been used in the past. So the main way I do this is using a website called Wayback Archive, and I'll jump onto it now and I'll show you an example. It's actually quite an interesting website. If you want to see how web technology and websites have evolved over the years, and you're an absolute geek like me, then it's really, really good. So what it does is at some point that website has been crawled and they've took a snapshot of what it looked like. So if you put your domain name into that and it comes back and says, and gives you any like history, or it gives you like some dates where it's took a snapshot, you can then look through and see what it was used for and check it wasn't anything untowards really. Chances are it'll probably be nothing. It's probably never been used. It's probably a clean domain, and you're the first person who's going to use it. But it's definitely worth looking at anyway. There's no harm in it. Just go and check, make sure it's not been used for anything dodgy. Have a look. And then if you, like I say, if you're a geek like me, find some websites that you go on now that you like and put them in and go back a few years and just see how much it's changed. You don't notice these things because it's usually quite subtle differences as websites evolve. But yeah, when you go back and look at how people have progressed in that journey from here to here, it's quite interesting sometimes. So like I say, this video is going to be one of a series. I'm going to do a beginner's guide to blogging 2019. I'm going to go through everything I've learned over the years. I'm going to create a full guide and take you through every single step of the process so that anyone can pick it up and get started with blogging. So subscribe to my channel. You'll get a little notification bell come up. Hit that as well. And then if you could do me a big favour, could you then just go into the comments, tell me whether this was of any use, tell me if there's anything that you want to learn about blogging and how I can help you, and that'd be really appreciated. Cheers guys.